Your Humanities Half Hour is brought to you by the Northern Marianas Humanities Council, navigating the human experience together.
Hafaday, Tiro, and welcome to Your Humanities Half Hour. I'm Catherine Perry, and today we are talking about the employer support of the Guard and Reserve with Dr. Rita Sablan. She's the chairperson for the CNMI under the Guam-CNMI State Committee of ESGR. Dr. Sablan, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Catherine. I'm so happy to be here to share some really nice stories about ESGR and who we are.
You guys do such important work, and it's really our privilege to help educate our community on what it is you guys do.
Yes.
What is ESGR?
Well, like you said, ESGR is the employer support of the Guard and Reserve, and we're a volunteer organization under the Department of Defense. And so we are an arm of the Department of Defense that really helps to take care of service members that are in the reserve components. And we're talking about maybe 7 different reserve components, like the Army, the Guard, the U.S. Coast Guard, the Navy, all those reserve components that we serve, and their employers as well. So we are a very active, strong organization around the country. I believe we have over 3,000 volunteers that take care of our employers and service members under the ESGR flag.
Well, we're so blessed here in the CNMI to have you as our chairperson, because I think a lot of people know you as a very proactive leader. What is it you guys are trying to accomplish through ESGR?
Well, one of our we're mission driven, right? So we are out there to serve all of our service members and our employers, and that's really the main goal. But to achieve the importance of why we exist, that we have to provide a forum for our service members and our employers to be informed about what's going on in the reserve components, right? So for example, the law, the USERRA law, the Uniform Service Employment and Reemployment Act, that is a very important law that every organization that employs service members understand what the law is, including our service member. They need to be aware of that. So it's really going out there to advocate not only for them to understand the law, but to even ensure that they know what is going on, right?
What are the protections under USERRA that a reservist and an employer should be aware of?
Well, there are several key components of the protection and benefits of the USERRA law, not only for the service members, but even for the employers. So one of them would be, for example, if a service member is on order to go to deployment or for training, and they give a last-minute notice to their employers, that should be acceptable, and that is important for them to know that their service member is going. Unfortunately, that information might have come later or last minute, and so the employer would have to try and understand that, oh, okay, I support you, go on, and because you're serving our country, right? The service member is protected from being terminated from the private civilian employment because he has, a duty to serve our country. So that is one of the protection and benefit for both the employer and the employee to know that they have a duty to serve the country, and at the same time I'm giving you notice, but hopefully you can prepare the organization take care of the organization while I'm gone.
So that's probably the most important part of the law is that
Right.
if a reservist is activated, goes into active duty, the employer cannot terminate them.
Right.
In most cases, or are there some exceptions, like if they're very critical, like say there's only 2 employees in the company, is that something that's taken
No,
into
there's
consideration?
no exception. It
No
is really the
exception.
rule that you must
Okay.
provide that,
Okay.
authorization for your staff to go, and you cannot charge them leave without pay. You cannot put them on AWOL because they've left, they're gone. That is a no-no. And it has happened here occasionally, like we have service members that have been deployed out of the CNMI, or they have been to training. Sometimes their trainings are 2 months, 3 months. And so they would go on at a very critical time when their employer would need them on board, right? But they just have to let them go because they have made a commitment to serve the country, so therefore they are allowed to, go and miss work the civilian life and go on and serve the country.
You guys make I know you spend a lot of your time being proactive, going out and educating employers about this. How do you go about your outreach?
Right. So there are 2 ways in which we do outreach. One of them is a focus group to our military personnel. So every now and then during drill training, the Guards, since they're here in CNMI now, the Guam National Guard, right? So whenever they call us to provide briefing to their staff or to the Guards, we would go, or even to the Army Reserve Center here, we would go to provide the debrief on, what is ESGR, what is the USERRA law, and how does it protect them as a military personnel. And it's really for the military service members to know what the law is all about, and they're not taking advantage of it, right? They have to understand that it's there to protect them on the basis of their duty to the country. And at the same time, and then there's a second component of our outreach, which is basically to our employers, because we want our employers to support them, right? To be able to say yes when they need to be away for deployment for a good reason. So the employer outreach is one that we do also to inform the organization, the departments, the supervisors about the USERRA law and why they just have to let them go, or why they need accommodation. For example, if one of our soldiers returned back and has a medical condition, and that individual works in a 3-story building, right? The company, and this service member works on 2nd floor and can't perform his duties, then the company would have to kind of like find a way to provide accommodation for that service member. And perhaps if there's no elevator, then they have to probably relocate the service member to 1st floor to be able to, do his job. So the employers, they do have a lot of questions too that they ask about,
Yeah, what are some common questions
some
that
of
you
the
get a lot from employers?
The common question, like what we've talked about, like why do they give last minute notice,
Well, sometimes you get your orders last minute.
Well, no, yeah,
Right.
that could be true.
Sometimes, yeah,
Sometimes, yeah,
maybe.
when there's a big conflict, right? You don't know when you're going to get on that airplane. So yeah, there have been, some last minute requests or notification.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
we also, what we have done to kind of like ease up that kind of stress between employer and service member is to make sure that our service members provide their employers or their supervisors a list of all the training activities that they're required to perform during the whole year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they have a calendar of events where they have to do drill, they have to go do training, they won't have a list of the deployment activities, right? But at least for training and drill, employers can have that in advance. So that eases up that tension that, you know, well, I don't know that you're doing this, but because you have the calendar of events, you already know that he or she might be away. So,
I understand you also have an ombudsman position who's kind of like when there's a dispute that can't be easily resolved, they step in, they help mediate. But so far you were saying we haven't really reached that level here. Everybody seems generally cooperative?
Yeah, well, here in the CNMI, we've had maybe one or two matters that have come to our attention, but it didn't go to the point where we have to have an ombudsman mediate. But as a Guam State Committee, Guam-CNMI State Committee, we've had a situation in Guam, our neighboring sister, where they are at the U.S. District Court.
Wow.
There are issues that are raised to that level if, you know, they cannot mediate anymore. So it's unfortunate that it has to go to that level. But here in CNMI, we've not had that. We've been very, very lucky, and I think our employers are really reminded of the USERRA law by attending our outreach events and, you know, inviting us to their office to provide information about how we can work together to support their guard and their reserve.
Can you share with us maybe some of the success stories, maybe even these issues that came to your attention? Were they resolved? What was the resolution? Without naming names, of course.
Yeah, of course. Well, sometimes there could be a misunderstanding, right? So, for example, with that one case that was brought to our attention, it had to do with a termination issue, right? But it's not really a termination, it was a separation. But somehow in the personnel documentation, it was the notation was termination, and the service member was saying, "No, they didn't terminate me. I separated." So it's just a rhetorical.
What's the difference between being terminated and being separated?
Well, you know, it could be a negative connotation when you're terminated because you've been told, you know, we don't need you here, right? So he felt that that was really not the case because the person did submit a letter of resignation to separate from employment. So he wanted that to be noted, right? And I said, oh my goodness. But that never went to anywhere. It's just a rhetorical matter that needed to be resolved at that point, right? So we're very lucky. We really don't have any issues that have been brought to our attention that would require us to get an ombudsman to mediate. But we've had a situation where one of our service members had to be on a drill, right? And she needed to be away starting Friday and will not be able to return back to work until Tuesday. And the employer, the supervisor, was saying, "No, you can go Saturday." And no, I need to be there on Friday. And then because I am given that period of time for a rest, I don't need to be back until Tuesday. So it was just again going out to doing an outreach with the employer to say, this is how it works. So you really can't charge them leave without pay or unauthorized leave because their order requires them to be here in Saipan for the drill on Friday and leave Monday, so obviously they don't have to be at work until Tuesday. Yeah, so, but some of the successes have been where employers are really very supportive. I remember back when we were sending our reserves to training away from Saipan, right? They would go to Hawaii or the U.S. mainland or some other countries, and what employers have done to really support their service member is to help their families. We've had families families that have shared their stories where the employer of their, their spouses would come to mow the lawn or bring treats to their children, during a holiday or something like that. Or employers sending care packages to their service members that are away from Saipan. Those are really some of the things that sometimes you think it's just a little thing, but it really means a big support system to, to those that are at the receiving end.
Definitely.
Yeah. So in the past, we have recognized our employers. There are 5 different recognitions that are presented to employers that are nominated by the service member because of the good gesture, the support that they've been given. Mm-hmm. So they're either provided or presented a Patriot Award for being there, supporting them. But we have what we call the most supportive employer, or the above and beyond, going beyond what you're required to do. Okay, I'm going to give you leave your leave, I'm going to give you extended hours, or I'm going to give you an additional R&R when you come back. Those are above.
Employers have actually done that?
Yes, we have some employers that have done that.
Wow.
And then they would also have other staff take care of, their service members' responsibilities. So those are the above and beyond that happens in the workplace, right?
I want to talk more about that part of the program, because I know it's actually a big affair for you guys. You have a little bit of a celebration sometimes, I think, some recognition.
Yeah.
Can we do that after the break?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I'll be happy to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll be back with more after this break.
Hafaday, Zantiro. I'm Leo Pangilinan with the Northern Marianas Humanities Council. We'd like to take a moment to thank our generous sponsors who have made possible the many programs in our community like this show. We couldn't have done it without them. And if you value the work we do and would like to make a contribution to our efforts, we ask that you consider making an in-kind or cash contribution to the Northern Marianas Humanities Council. Any amount is appreciated, and donations of up to $5,000 qualify for an educational tax credit. We appreciate your partnership and support. Sizus Maasi, Olomai, and thank you.
Welcome back. We're talking about ESGR, the Employer Support of the Guard and the Reserve, with Dr. Rita Sablan. Dr. Sablan, you are the chairperson for the CNMI area, but I know you have a bunch of other people working together on this. Yes. Who's on the committee with you?
Thank you. Thank you for asking that question. That's really very important to note that I don't work alone, that there are other members in my group that, 2 members. So we're a very small committee that is based out here in Saipan. And that is, we have Rose Igito, who's really been a pioneer in the program or the organization. She stepped down as chair 3 years ago, area chair, but she had been area chair for almost, I want to say, 20 years. She's been, around for a long time, and she is a coordinator for our employer outreach. So that's what Rose does. She would go out and work with our employers as to, how things are going on with their service members, or if they need for us to come and visit them to talk about, ESGR or USERRA. And then we have Joanna Aquino, who plays a very key role in our committee, and she serves 2 purposes, and one of them is being the ombudsman, who actually, mediates any conflict between service members and the employers. And she's not been working really hard because we've not had any big issues.
That's a good thing.
It's a great thing. We're so happy.
Not a
and
lot of conflict, yeah.
Right. So maybe because of the outreach that we do, and she does the military outreach too, as well. So here in Saipan, we have the 2 reserve component. We have the 100th Battalion, the Echo Company, and we also have the 302nd. And recently we have the, what do you call them? The Guam National Guard. They're here. And we also have the U.S. Coast Guard that's here. So we have several, reserve components that are present on island. And every now and then we have other companies that are detached here to provide support systems. So we reach out to them as well. So Joanne and Rose and myself are the little 3 committee members of the CNMI area.
Small but powerful.
Yeah, we work hard. And so we fall under the Guam CNMI State Committee, and I believe we're only small too. We're about maybe 13 or 12 in that committee. And our committee is now, the chair of our committee is Kathy Agogwe. Yeah.
I want to circle back to what you were talking about before the break, and I want to remind our reservists that they can nominate their employer for one of these awards that you guys do annually. You were mentioning there were 5 categories,
Right.
or what are you awarding employers for?
So we have 5 awards that are given out, presented out to our employers, but they can also be presented out to spouses and their families, right? And it is just that the service member must be the one to nominate, right? So we've had nominations that have come in for Patriot Award, and you can do that anytime. Like, something happened very exceptional, I better just recognize my boss. So Patriot Award is something that's awarded regularly anytime. So
is a Patriot Award for an individual or for a company?
It's for an individual.
Okay.
Yeah, the Patriot
Your
Award
boss,
is given
your supervisor.
Right, that is correct. And because of their support to the service member.
Nice.
And then we have the most supportive employer, so that goes out to the organization, the agency. So we would recognize them for doing something that is very supportive of the service member. And then we have the Above and Beyond Award. And that's something a little bit more extraordinary that you do, right? So we've had service members that have nominated their bosses or their employers for Above and Beyond, for going beyond what the rules are within their organization, right?
So maybe some of the things you were mentioning before the break about, giving gifts to the kids on on the holidays or something like that. Yeah,
giving incentives to the reserve components, the service members and their families. That's really very, very, to me, is extraordinary. Why would you go out of your way to spend and do this, deliver? And even doing care packages, doing lawn mowing at the home and I've seen that happen. Or I remember one of our story from one of our agencies here where they actually visited the family. They were at at one of the hotels here in Saipan because the spouse had gone off on military duty, right? So one of the child became sick, so the employer had to go and take care of the family, and while mom is taking care of the child at the hospital, the service member employer, they all put their hands together and take care watching the rest of the members that were at the hotel. So it was very interesting.
That's really beautiful.
How they do something when their service members are away, and especially the phone calls. Like sometimes they say, well, we can't call them, but yes, they would call their their service members when they're away. So Above and Beyond is one award that really is recognizing the organization. And then we have the Pro Patria. So the Pro Patria is one that the organization, the committee, gives out to the employer that has done, extraordinary, exceptional, has been recognized to receive a different award, but has not been given that award. So we come up with a Pro Patria. And so we've had a few organizations here at in the CNMI that have received that award. And every year we would have 2 or 3 Pro Patria award that we give out. And then the last award is the Freedom Award, which is the Secretary of Defense Freedom Award, which is very competitive. It's for the entire country, and only 15 are selected to, receive that. So we have come close enough, like the American Red Cross, CNMI, they had been recognized once before for the Secretary of Defense Award, the Guam Judiciary. And here in the CNMI last year, they recognized, actually we did, Triple J was nominated but didn't get that award. So
I mean, even the fact that they were nominated,
I
right?
know,
it
that's
speaks
a
to
great thing.
their policy and
Right.
what they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are the 5 awards, but then really, you can always submit your nomination anytime, and we do encourage our service members, both the reserve components and the National Guard, to submit their nominations of their employers, and even their families if they feel that they have been given that support. Anytime. The only one that has a timeline is actually the Freedom Award, which is the nomination period happens October 1 all the way through December. So, that's a very special and unique award.
Opportunity.
Yes, yes.
Dr. Rita, thank you for coming
Yes.
and sharing about the work that you do. Where can people get in touch with you if they would like you to come and make a presentation? And do you have any final thoughts before we close today?
Yeah, we're always happy to go out there and talk to our employers and any organization that would want to know more about ESGR, or if even they want to volunteer, right? So they're welcome to call me. My number is 483-9182.
483-9182.
Yes, and of course my email is ritaaSablan@gmail.com.
ritaaSablan@gmail.com.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I could be their point of contact. And we also have our point of contact at the Army Reserve Center here in Saipan.
Okay.
And so we work closely with Kennedy Benjamin, so that's another resource person that they can reach out to for us to be contacted. And so my last thoughts and all that is that it's been a great experience volunteering for ESGR, just seeing how the service members work there in the field, in the civilian life, and then getting ready to change hats and go to being a service member to protect us and care for our country and to ensure that we enjoy democracy and freedom. So I would like to, just say hurrah to everyone out there that supports our service member, but really, always be grateful that we do have them here on our island looking out for us as well.
Well put.
Yeah,
Well put.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Our guest today has been Dr. Rita Sablan. She's the chairperson for the CNMI, for the Guam-CNMI Committee for the Employer Support of the Guard and Reserve. And thank you to our service members. This has been Your Humanities Half Hour. I'm Catherine Perry.
Your Humanities Half Hour has been made possible in part by a major grant from the National Endowment for the Humanities. Democracy demands wisdom. Any views, findings, conclusions, or recommendations expressed in this program do not necessarily represent those of the National Endowment for the Humanities. For more information or to share your thoughts, contact the Northern Marianas Humanities Council at nmhcouncil.org or on social media at 670 Humanities. That's 670 Humanities.